In the opening pages of Scripture, humanity does not fall into darkness by accident, it steps into it. When Adam and Eve are exiled from the garden, God does not abandon creation, He protects it. To live forever in chaos would have meant eternal injustice, unending pain, and suffering without hope. Outside Eden, blessing collapses into famine, intimacy becomes distance, and work turns into toil. From that moment forward, every human story carries the same haunting question: can order ever rise again from chaos? Chaos does not remain contained, it spreads. It breeds injustice, violence, and fear until the world itself feels like it is unraveling. Yet God refuses to allow His good creation to be undone. He chooses to work through humanity rather than erase it, calling a people through whom blessing might once again push back the darkness. When Israel is delivered from the oppressive hand of Pharaoh, this is more than political liberation. It is a cosmic act of resistance against chaos. God declares that this nation will not live like the others. They are meant to reflect justice, restraint, and compassion in a world addicted to power. But calling does not guarantee faithfulness, and history quickly proves how fragile human obedience can be. Nearly 400 years later, the story narrows to a single, unlikely figure. Far from palaces and power, a young shepherd watches sheep beneath the open sky near Bethlehem. David is overlooked by his family, invisible to the world, and yet already living inside a story far larger than himself, one shaped by trust rather than strength. When danger appears in the form of a lion, David does not rely on fear or force. He trusts that the same God who orders the cosmos also governs the wildness of the field. In that quiet act of courage, we see the foundation of David's character, confidence not in himself, but in the God who stands behind him. Years later, the prophet Samuel arrives with unexpected news. God has chosen David to be king. Yet nothing changes. Saul remains on the throne, and David returns to obscurity. Destiny, it turns out, does not arrive with immediacy or applause. Sometimes it arrives with waiting, humility, and silence. David eventually enters Saul's palace, not as a ruler, but as a servant. His music calms a king tormented by fear and insecurity. Ironically, the one who brings peace to Saul's spirit is the very future Saul will grow to fear. Power, when rooted in insecurity, always turns inward. War soon erupts with the Philistines, and fear grips Israel when Goliath steps forward. He is not just a giant of flesh, but a symbol of overwhelming terror. While armies freeze, David steps forward armed only with stones and trust. In a single moment, faith dismantles fear, and the giant collapses. Victory brings songs, and songs bring jealousy. Saul's admiration curdles into suspicion. Spears replace smiles. Friendship with Jonathan becomes David's lifeline. As the palace transforms from sanctuary into snare, the future king learns that popularity can be just as dangerous as obscurity. David flees into wilderness, caves, and foreign lands. For years, he lives as a hunted man. It is here, surrounded by fear and uncertainty, that David writes many of his psalms. Raw prayers shaped by anxiety, hope, despair, and stubborn faith. These are not poems of comfort, but of survival. Twice David has the opportunity to kill Saul. Twice he refuses. He understands something rare, that righteousness cannot be seized without becoming corrupted. Power taken unjustly only multiplies chaos, even when the cause feels justified. Eventually, Saul falls in battle, and David mourns, not in triumph, but in grief. When David is crowned king, civil war fractures the nation. Yet justice defines his reign. Even his enemies are treated with dignity, and Jerusalem becomes the center of a renewed kingdom. David brings the Ark of God into Jerusalem, dancing in worship. For a moment, it feels as though Eden might be returning. God promises David that his line will produce an eternal king, one whose reign will never end. David stands at the center of hope, yet he is not the fulfillment of it. Then comes the fracture. Desire overtakes wisdom. Bathsheba, Uriah. A private sin unleashes public chaos. David, who once trusted God completely, now manipulates power to protect himself. The fall is not sudden, it is tragic. David repents, pouring his guilt into Psalm 51. Forgiveness comes, but consequences remain. His household fractures. Violence echoes through his children. The chaos once outside the kingdom now lives within it. Absalom rebels, and David flees Jerusalem once more, this time not from a king, but from his own son. Grief becomes heavier than any crown he has ever worn. Absalom dies, and David mourns deeply. Near the end of his life, Solomon is crowned king. David speaks of righteous rule as morning light, then fades from history, leaving behind an unfulfilled longing. David was a great king, but not the final one. His life exposes both humanity's highest hopes and deepest failures. The story does not end with him because it was never meant to. It leaves us yearning for a king without corruption, without fear, and without end. A king who will restore Eden forever.